they've lost all of their belongings. They don't have clothes, blankets, food. The necessities that we take advantage of, they no longer have at all. They've lost everything. So empathy, to be empathetic in that situation is, oh man, I can't believe that. That is horrible. Hi, Phoenix family. So tonight's topic is, what is an empath? And this has become a word that's thrown around quite often, and it's also become controversial. The reason why is because most people do not know how to properly assess whether or not they are empathetic or an empath. Um, Empath doesn't mean, not being an empath does not mean that you don't feel empathy. Okay? So I want to talk about what empathy is, to be empathetic to a situation, and then go into what an empath is and what they do. Okay, so empathy is the emotion that we feel when we understand a situation and we take it in. Okay, to be empathetic. Um, so you learn that your best friend is maybe their dog has passed away, okay? And your best friend, this is somebody that you're very close to, so that when their dog passes away and they're very sad, you offer condolences and hugs and, I'm so sorry, and you take that in for a moment, like, oh man, I can't imagine 8 years of being with my dog and all of a sudden it passes away. I know that she really loved her dog and this is devastating for her. That is empathy. Okay, most people have empathy, especially in a situation like that. Okay, even more so, somebody's house is burned down, and this is somebody that you don't know. Okay, but you read an article online, or you've seen something come across your email, and it's about this family that was living in this house, and the house is burned down. They've lost all of their belongings. They don't have clothes, blankets, food. The necessities that we take advantage of, they no longer have at all. They've lost everything. So empathy, to be empathetic in that situation is, oh man, I can't believe that. That is horrible. And maybe you're even the kind of person that takes that empathy to the next level and says, I've got a plan. We're going to reach out to other people and share the story, and let's help this family. Let's get clothes. Let's get blankets. Let's get food. Let's find them a way to shelter until they can get something going for themselves again because they've lost their home. That is another natural human reaction. That is to have empathy. That is to be empathetic to the situation. Okay? Those are just two small examples of so many examples of how we can feel empathy to a situation. A person that is an empath it's so much deeper than that. It is not just seeing the situation and, oh man, giving sympathy and remorse. It's literally taking the situation in as if it were happening to themselves. Okay? When an empath is dealing with the friend that the dog has passed away, when an empath picks up that emotion, they become suddenly very sad. Not sad for their friend, sad in the idea that their own pet has died and that they now have to grieve this passing animal. it did not happen to them. It was not their pet, but an empath picks up that emotion and it becomes their very own emotion. They go through the grieving process. They go through the missing that animal. They go through the crying at night and the, oh, I won't have the food bowl to fill anymore. You know, those things that an individual goes through after a pet passing. An empath takes it all in as if it was their very own. And some empaths are can work through it in a short amount of time, and I say short meaning like 24 to 48 hours. Okay, and then some empaths they suffer through it for several weeks until they can come through it. One of the most important things that an empath has to learn about themselves is, one, that they are an empath, and two, how to acknowledge that that emotion is not theirs so that they can possibly push it away. Um, a great number of empaths have difficulty being in large places with a great number of people, things like a shopping center or a super mall or something like that, where the numbers of people are astounding. And the reason why is because there's so many emotions flying, you know. So picture this with me, if you will. An empath, an individual will say, a guy, he is an empath, and he is walking down the mall, just kind of walking in between the stores, and he kind of looks this way, he sees, the shoe store over here, looks this way, he sees a hat store over here, and he's just walking down the center of the mall. Now, on both sides of him, people are walking this way, and they're walking that way, and there's so many different emotions going on because of the situations that these people are living through. Somebody over here has had gone through a serious breakup and they are devastated. This person over here has had a fight with their mom and they are very angry. This one over here has had a fight with their spouse and they are concerned whether or not the relationship is going to last. This one over here is just doesn't know whether they should go on to college or follow a career, so they're confused. And then this one over here is just, what do I do about my high school test? I'm so anxious when it comes to taking tests. Then you have even a child, like, oh, I got a C on my math homework. Is mom going to be upset? This is anxiety. So in that small section of the mall where this man is walking through, he is picking up anger, sadness, anxiety, devastation, and it's all coming in at once, and he's taking it in as if it were his own. He is now fearing how his parent will react to the grade. He is now anxious about whether or not to go to college or start a career. He is devastated by the breakup that he can't believe this has just happened to him. He is upset about the fight with his wife. He is, even further than that. Somebody else is walking down that has just come from a funeral. He's now grieving the death of his grandmother. The reality of it is that none of these scenarios are his. Not a single one of them. None of these people have even spoken to him. Okay? But these people project their emotion outward. They project what they are feeling inside of themselves, what they are coping with, because they're thinking about it, they are stressing over it or grieving over it, so they're projecting it outward. When they are projecting outward, he is picking up as if it were his own. Imagine, if you will, take like a person, a box. Okay, you got this box, right? This is the guy. This is the guy, and these are his emotions on the inside. Okay, every person, sadness, anger, devastation, anxiety, they're now filling up this box. They are now his. Okay, what was inside of there at first was his own, and now it's filled up with all of this. By the time he leaves that area, he leaves the mall, gets into the piece of his car, he's angry, he's sad, he's devastated, and he's anxious all at once. And he has to come to the conclusion of how to deal with these emotions. That is an empath. That is why it's so controversial, because so many people do not understand the difference between empathy and empath. Okay? To have empathy, a person is talking to you. A person is conversing with you in some way or some form of their situation, and you are feeling sympathies for them. You are feeling empathy for what they are having to go through. An empath does not need to speak to anybody, not a soul. They simply walk into a room, walk from one end to the other, and pick up the emotions from the people around them. By the time they get to the other side of the room, they have everybody's stuff stuck inside of them as if they were their own, and have to cope with that. Before ending this video, I want to express on how to help an empath. All right. First of all, and this is the very most important thing, is you're an empath, you're stuck with it. There is no way to 100% block this out. If you had that capability, you would not be an empath. That's what an empath is. It is a person that picks up the emotions from others and cannot stop it. Okay? That is something that needs to be understood. All right? An empath cannot stop these emotions from happening. What they can do is acknowledge that it is not their own feelings. Remember how they felt at the beginning of walking through that mall and what they were going through in their own life. And that by the time they got to the end, all of these other feelings were not theirs. They are not grieving a grandmother that passed away because it didn't happen. They are not angry about a fight with a spouse. They are not worried about whether to take a career or go to college. But a lot of times, in all honesty, it's difficult for an empath to reach that because the emotions are so overwhelming. The idea for the empath is to sit down, brush everybody out for just a moment. I say a moment, but it could take an hour, and write down what they're feeling, where it's coming from, what pictures, what imagery did they get when they got these emotions. And then say, oh, that's not mine. I have no reason to be sad. Oh, that's not mine. I have no reason to be anxious right now. Okay? When an empath can acknowledge it, separate it from their own, then they can push it back out or push it back into the earth and allow themselves that freedom. But an empath cannot stop it entirely. If you could stop it entirely, you are not an empath. That is something that needs to get out there. So the controversial conversations will come to an end on that. Okay? As, oh, if you're an empath, you can just block this, or oh, I'm really powerful because I can shield this. If you have the ability to shield it, then you are not an empath. That's why an empath got their name, because it is an ability that cannot be blocked, that it can be worked with, it can be coped with, and it is something that you learn. Okay? You learn how to live with it and then carry on. All right? So that's what an empath is. That's what an empath has to deal with, and that's how an empath learns to live with it. And I think that's it for the night. So thank you guys, and I love y'all. Mwah.